Okay, let's start reading this verse, Luke 14:26. If any man comes to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Well, you saw it, a whole list of people you must hate. Basically, that means you must hate everyone except Christ. That includes your parents. Is this really what this verse means? I mean, if you read it, then you say, yes, we are looking at inspired scripture, so it means exactly what it says it means. Okay, it's fine. But I think everybody must agree that Jesus was not a man of hate speech, so to speak. He was a man of love and a man of compassion. Okay, he rebuked people once in a while, yes, but the main the main thing of his whole life and the main thing of his whole teaching, the core of his very being was love, 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 love. And in this verse, he flat out states, if you want to be my disciple, you have to hate the whole world. Does that sound like a teaching, a message from the divine master of love? I think it's not. Okay, the first verse in our search for the real meaning of hate in Luke 14:26. We will look at a verse that's one of the 10 commandments. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long on the land which the Lord your God gives you. Obviously, God is talking about a conditional blessing. The condition is you must honor your father and mother, and then God gives you the blessing which be many days in the land God gives you. It's a blessing. So to be blessed, you have to honor your father and mother. The previous two verses seem to teach two things. Hate your parents and honor your parents and you will be blessed. Doesn't that sound like a huge contradiction? Well, scripture never ever contradicts. Scripture is also flawless. But is our understanding of the scripture flawless? Or perhaps the translation is like hiding some depth that's hidden in the original Hebrew and Greek language, but just is very hard to translate, and yeah, is simply something is lost in translation. And as we will see, that's exactly what happened. Both verses are correct. Scripture does not contradict, and there are no errors in Scripture, but there is an error in our understanding. The next two verses we should consider are found in Genesis chapter 29. Verse 30 reads, and he went in also to Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet another 7 years. In verse 31 we read, when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Okay, what are we reading here? First thing I must say, as you surely have seen, those verses just follow each other. It's not like there is, let's say, a decade between them. Like, well, in the beginning, Jacob really loved Leah, but over time, well, he just got angry with her because of unmentioned things. No, this is just the same verse almost. It's just one verse that's split into two parts. And if we look at the genealogy, then we see that Leah and Rachel both got pregnant, and what first the other woman, then the other woman. It was not like, yeah, well, that Jacob suddenly stopped sleeping with one of the women. There's no indication for that. And as we will see, there's also no indication in that when we really understand those verses we are reading here. Okay, Genesis 29:30 reads, loved also Rachel more than Leah. So that means that he loved Rachel more than Leah, exactly as the verse says. But the other way around, it means that he loved Leah less than Rachel. But the key word is here that he loved Leah. Just not that much, but still he loved Leah. He loved her. He does not hate her. But still, the next verse we read that Jacob hated Leah. And that sounds like a flat-out contradiction, doesn't it? I mean, how more can you have a contradiction? You hate Leah versus you love her. That's just a big contradiction. But scripture never ever contradicts. And this is no exception. It does not contradict. But our understanding of these two verses contradict. Or should I say that the translation is not good? The original inspired scripture is flawless, without error. But the translation and our understanding is not flawless and not without error. Look, the most common understanding is simply that hated is just as you understand it. Hate, just you feel really, really, really bad about a person. It's just like an enemy. That's what the most common meaning of hated is. All over the Bible, just as it is in English. A person you hate is your enemy, not your lover. But Leah was really the lover of Jacob. Okay, he loved Rachel more, perhaps even a lot more, but he still loved Leah. And most certainly he did not hate her. There's no indication in the whole Bible he did. If you just read all chapter 29 about, let's call it a love relationship and the children they got together, there's no indication that Jacob ever hated Leah. So a more vague or more or less used meaning of hated, I should say, is simple. It means love less. So what verse 31 really means is Leah was hated. No, that's not what it means. It means Leah was loved less. She was loved less than her sister Rachel. That clears up the whole contradiction. Because then verse 30 says, Leah was loved less than Rachel, and verse 31 says exactly the same. Leah was loved less than her sister Rachel. And that's all that's to it. It's really this simple. And understanding it this way takes away all the contradictions we may seem to see between those two verses here and the two verses I mentioned at the beginning of this small teaching, meaning Luke 14:26 and Exodus 20:12. So let's wrap up this small teaching. Well, we started with this verse, Luke 14:26. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Well, if we just replace hate with love less, the meaning of the verse simply is, if you don't love Christ more than everybody else, you can't be his disciple. It's this simple. So we cleared up the contradiction, which was not a contradiction at all. I must add that in this example, hate means love less. But obviously, hate can also mean really hate, as we normally understand hate. So you can hate evil. It's not that you love sin a little bit less than you love holiness or something like that. No, that's not what it means. But sometimes words have different meanings. And we got that in every language. But look, hate in English just always means hate. At least I don't know any example that hate in English is something positive. But in Hebrew, it is. It's just a different language with different rules. And yes, I hate to say, I think the translations could have been better. Because this word hate, while it is a correct translation from the Hebrew, I think a lot of confusion would be avoided if the translator just have translated it with something like, and if any man comes to me and does not love his father, mother, and wife, and children, and brothers, even his own life, less than he loves me, he cannot be my disciple. Then everything was clear from the start, and there would be no need for the discussion. So, well, this is it. I hope you liked it as much as I do, and hopefully until the next time, bye.